Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last night in the town of Weed, California, in my own 1st Congressional District, over 100 of my constituents' homes were destroyed or damaged by fire, along with an elementary school and a timber mill, one of the area's largest employers. Thousands of my constituents are under evacuation orders, and the fire is not yet contained. Aside from this tragedy, hundreds of thousands of acres of Northern California forests have burned so far this year. In fact, the combined impact of the fires in my district is already larger than last year's Rim fire near Yosemite. Unfortunately, while the Rim fire received nonstop news coverage last year, most of America is probably unaware of this year's calamities. The unfortunate truth is that rural California and much of the West experience massive wildfires like these every year. Over the past decade, wildfires in the West have only grown in size and severity. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't have to be this way. We know why our forests are burning: decades of mismanagement caused by federal bureaucracies, excessive regulations, and red tape. They have an attitude at Forest Service in many cases of just let it burn. We suffer from these road closures, the inaccessibility to our forests for management, and certainly at the ability to stop fires when they're started because of these policies. The simple fact is that our forests are not managed, or they're not even poorly managed, they're entirely unmanaged. And as a result, are healthy and ready to burst into flame at any time, as we're seeing now. I'm supporting several measures to address the crisis in our forests, and last night's events create even more urgency for Congress and this administration to act. Chairman Hastings' bill, H.R. 1526, which was passed in this House, and which I am a co-sponsor, would restore common sense forest management, requiring the Forest Service to actively manage public forests to reduce fuel loads and improve forest health. It's high time that the Senate act on this measure, or at the very least produce its own forestry measure in the Senate so that we can negotiate a final product. This would be as part of the now 384 House bills that are languishing over in the Senate that need action. Chairman Sintz's bill, H.R. 3992, another measure I'm supporting and co-sponsoring, will end the diversion of forest management funding to firefighting by treating fires like other disasters, allowing flexible wildfire disaster funding. The Forest Service's increasing use of forest management funds for wildfire suppression means we're no longer in the business of managing forests, instead just putting them out, or trying to, when they burn. This measure deserves a hearing in committee and action on the floor before this session ends. Mr. Speaker, without action on these bills, our forests will continue to burn. Our constituents will continue to see their homes and livelihoods destroyed, and rural communities across the West will continue to suffer. The action has been happening here in the House this year. We hear about do-nothing Congress. We hear about the least productive Congress. The House of Representatives has been doing its job. When we have 384-plus bills sitting over in the Senate, languishing, waiting for action, then it's a misnomer that the action is not going on in this House. Indeed, it's a do-nothing Senate. The people of the West, the people that are in line of these fires, the people who are suffering, demand action of their government. When they're not getting it, then they're the victims. Madam Speaker, we need before the end of this year to take serious action on the management of our forests, on the allowing of timber to be cut, processed, in order to achieve forest health. We have an overload, we have an inventory in our forests which is much more than can be sustainable on the number of trees per acre, on what's safe and healthy for the trees as they compete for a limited water supply underground, therefore stressing the trees, causing them susceptible to be more in danger of insects that weaken and kill the trees, thereby a self-perpetuating prophecy of forests that are weak and burn. Madam Speaker, it's high time, as my constituents in Siskiyou County have suffered for weeks, and now starting last night in Weed, California, suffering from this mismanagement, the non-management, the incompetence, even what some people feel criminal treatment they're getting from their federal government because of inactivity. Madam Speaker, it's high time we pass these measures and do what we need to do to make our forests healthy, safe, as well as help the economies of those people, because certainly in this place, in Congress, in government, we certainly use a lot of wood paper products. Why should they not come from California or from our western states? Madam Speaker, I yield back.